who I believe can hear me, and we've got... Oh, no, he actually can't because we thought we were done, so I fixed up my settings. There we go. Now I think the Wonder Cow can hear me, and
sure
we
can.
have... Excellent. We have Complexity versus EHOME. This is one of the tiebreakers. The way that they work is basically one of the groups was kind of super deadlocked. I'm actually going to pull it up because it's complicated. We have 3 tiebreakers going on.
Everybody at Mineski tied against each other. All 1-1 splits, except Mineski, who didn't win a single game.
Yeah, and basically all of this group has to figure out their tiebreakers. On the other side, there is Evil Genius Newbie playing a tiebreaker just to see who is going through. Basically, the 4th place in the group, you drop straight into the lower bracket. 3rd place is in the upper bracket, but playing against that 2nd seed in the opposite group. I think that clears up the explanation, so you'll know what's going on. And now we're into it. I actually haven't gotten to cast much complexity of EHOME throughout this. We were on a newbie kick, but we were seeing Bat, IO, Londer banned out. Pretty standard.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of surprised to see EHOME not banning out the Chen. They really love that Chen ban. Like, probably about 8% of their games since the start of this patch, or at least the start of Chen's popularity on this patch, then Chen first bans. They're either they don't think Complexity has a Chen player worth noting, or they might be considering running themselves.
EHOME's turn to pick.
It's especially, I mean, Complexity, we both know that they run the Chen, and they're very comfortable with the Chen. Complexity do enjoy that type of early group up push lineup, so EHOME, I think, just prioritizing, yeah, I think they just had to prioritize the Earth Spirit and didn't want to deal with the IO or the Lone Druid.
Yeah, it's just... I'm interested to see how Complexity Game managed to utilize that Chen and whether or not EHOME's evaluation of their skill with the hero turns out to be a good one. Because, like you said, we both know they can run that hero. So for a team that is as concerned about the hero's EHOME's drafting patterns tend to imply, it's kind of strange to see it let through in a tiebreaker scenario, right? Best of 1 Palooza.
Here's the thing, though. Obviously, these other EHOME and Complexity, when they played, they won. These games, it could have been something where they comfortable having the Chen come out, and it is something we've seen before, where a good Earth Spirit player can make enough space for the opposing mid. You might feel like online, yeah, they're better, but as you said, it's a very strong opening having the Invoker and the Chen. Venge still available for EHOME, or something that they may be forced to ban out, just because if you let them have all of those heroes, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, it is also something that might be worth noting that when Complexity beat EHOME earlier, they did it with an IO lineup, a tiny Vengeful Spirit lineup. So yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Vengeful Spirit either drafted here by EHOME or banned. Very popular, very effective hero that a Complexity have already used once in order to send it home to the lock.
Albeit, I also think, so for this team, the tiebreaker situation also, so this group is entirely locked. So even if you lose this one, you're still not necessarily in the lower bracket, and it could be something. I'm not saying folks are going to throw it or anything, but it is time for some experimentation. Get more intel on these folks. A lot of these teams haven't maybe been able to have opportunities to scout as well since they're coming from different regions. Although I have heard that Complexity has been trying to. So we'll see.
Complexity is known for being very invested in their. They are a team that works with statisticians, that then works with people from the stats community. They are a team that, even when Fly was on Complexity, right, during TI, he said that we take stats very seriously. They had a fat book of stats on opponents that they went over with a trainer, and they kind of hit piece by piece, make sure that they were prepared. So if there is a team that comes from what we could evaluate as a less strong region like the Americas that you do have to watch out for, its Complexity, because they can really surprise sometimes.
And I think they've surprised a lot of people performing so well in their group.
5 seconds remaining.
Was something where coming into it, a lot of people were saying, hey, they're expecting Complexity and Mineski to be right out in their group. And then also I think Spirit and Newbie was viewed as some of the weaker links in their group, and now, boom, it's going to be working out great since, Newbie actually performing as well as EG. Either way, we will be seeing the Brewmaster ban out. You know, Chessie, well known on that hero, and AM as well.
Yeah, the AM ban is interesting to me. I'm not sure where that's going to come from in terms of what that means for the rest of their draft, other than presumably it means that they don't want to give EHOME an opportunity to go late. Which makes a bit of sense when you do have a Chen. Often you do want to steamroll into opponents and then not let them catch back up. Mage is a decent hero going out and finding arms safely, even from mine.
I think it's also an EHOME comfort pick, right? It's something that you don't want to give that away if you can help it. And Mirana, speaking of comfort picks, Complexity on this is both a support and a carry. If they run it as a support, their lane's potentially a bit weak because you might have a roaming Chen and a roaming Mirana, but it's certainly something where an Invoker with Cold Snap can help set up arrows, or, you know, you get the net creep, you set up arrows. Be good.
Yeah, out of their last 25 games, they have not lost a game with Mirana. They run not that often, but often enough to get relatively impressive for their region. And like you said, they do run it on 2 positions as well, so it doesn't really give anything away about it.
Turn to pick.
Yeah, and this is also another nice one, right, coming out. We got some Tide people feeling happy about this. It's very difficult to push into a Tide, of course, and actually, Nature's Prophet is still on the board. So the point I'm about to make, often when you, I was going to say, you know, when you have the Chen, if you have to commit a lot of your resources, Tide ravages, anchor smashes them off, it takes you a while to build back up that army. Nature's Prophet doesn't have that issue, and is still not picked or banned.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Complexity want to go that deep into the pushing well, because we casted a game earlier this week where it was the Enchantress Chen strategy, right? That was one of the South American, I think it was Elite Wolves that tried to run that, right? It usually doesn't work out in your favor to invest too heavily in that strategy outside of the patch 6.81, which was an anomaly, because if you do fail to grab that high ground, which is very realistic, you have no fallback plan. The Invoker goes late very well, but he doesn't necessarily go late well enough to outpace Alina plus another 1 position by itself.
Yeah. So for Complexity, they still have some options. Okay, now I was gonna say they have options. They don't need to go all in. This isn't necessarily all in. It's still not necessarily all in. This could all just be buffing up a carry. You know, they could maybe pick a Tiny here that gets buffed up by Inner Beast and the Invoker Alacrity, but it is looking a bit like they're set if they want to group up and push.
Yeah, they may not have gone all in yet. They're certainly counting their chips at the table at this point in time. The Mirana is the only hero here who doesn't go into the push strategy really heavily, and really what she provides is that Moonlight getting potential to give a bit more flexibility to Complexity's lineup.
Yeah,
overall, go ahead.
Oh, the escape. That's what I was gonna add.
Or the de-initiation potential of that as well. Although that is a lot riskier because presumably EHOME are going to have vision all over the place, right? And usually when you're playing against Mirana, somebody like your Earth Spirit's going to be carrying dust in case they try to de-initiate with the Moonlight Shadow. It's always worth a shot.
So for EHOME, they have some work cut out for them. The other nice thing about a Beastmaster here is if it ends up being Alina mid, it's something where Beastmaster can rotate early on, either with a smoke or just at level 6, using the balls maybe to help get the slow off, and then, you know, you primal roll someone. Good game potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the early game here is not actually terrible. Often you don't see the gens do heavy rotation. Sometimes you see them try to get that quick level 5, quick level 6, and then move into towers. I don't suspect Complexity are going to play it that way with the Mirana and the Beastmaster. Their lanes are not actually weak, and they do have a lot of gank potential.
Yeah, but EHOME, go with the Legion Commander. This has some benefits here. Obviously, overwhelming odds. Going to be great if there are a lot of units flying around, which there will be. But it's also a hero. I feel like EHOME's draft is very difficult to execute because you have an Earth Spirit who needs to make a lot happen. Ravage is a very long cooldown to play around. Yes, it's good in team fights, but if you don't make something happen in that Ravage and it has to be big, you're down for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and especially since the Tidehunter does not do particularly well at counter push, at least until it's in Ags for that gush. If he does decide to go that route, that counter push is pretty effectively. But
Have
that's
we
not going to be early on, and I don't think I've seen a pro game with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's something. Pro games tend to favor the mech, sometimes even before the arcanes untied, but usually the
Yeah.
arcanes, the mech, then the blink. Going
Maybe
back
a
for Golden
force.
Grease, if there's a silence, yeah, maybe a force, depending on how it goes, and refresher always. But Sven, complexity. This lineup very reminiscent of stuff Spirit liked to play, and they actually, I believe, got through the major qualifiers on the back of a lot of drafts like this, and it's gonna just be up to EHOME to win their lanes, because that's how you stop a push with such early timing like complexities.
Yeah, win their lane, this slot can definitely get out and do some work, especially on the Chen and honest, very squishy targets. If they get a couple of early duels on Legion Commander as well, that will begin to spiral out of control, and Complexity Gaming find themselves really out of touch with the way the pace of the game goes from there.
Yeah. So with that, folks, we've got our lineups. We'll be loading in now. I don't know exactly when Complexity and EHOME's game ended. I know that I've had a bit of a break between my last one. I know they gave them about 20 minutes at least, because we were told about the format. So I think people feeling refreshed. They've also got a full day ahead of them though. It's currently only about 2:30 in China, and yesterday the group stages ended at, or the round robin ended at about midnight.
Wow. Yeah, so Complexity's last time ended about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Or 2 hours ago, excuse me. So they've had some time. That's the more recent of them.
What are we owing about?
I was just saying, so they should be relatively well rested, considering.
And I do think that's a bit of a factor. It's actually really funny. We're getting behind the schedule with this poor tournament. I feel very sorry for the admins, because there had just been some out of their control delays with games lasting, some of them a lot longer than you'd expect, especially on this patch. The games haven't super long. Either way, we're going to have an early rotation coming out of Complexity. Will it be an arrow? Apparently no.
They do not have faith in their level 1 ability to engage here. I'm interested in what plan is here. Are they going to walk all the way to the top, or are they going to try to engage with the Sacred Arrow with high ground damage? That seems to be the...
I think they got a little bit of vision with that Hawk. I'm also interested in the fact that this Chen decides... I managed to talk to 1437 about this, but this Chen also not one who opts for smoke. We've been seeing that a lot on Chens, but 1437 was saying you can ferry it out, and if you don't pick up the smoke, you can buy out all your items and really allow Marana, the other support, to get a lot more. And she already has boots.
Yeah, geez. She is ready to go. The other thing about the smoke, I actually... regretfully didn't manage to catch that game that you guys were catching, so I don't know if we covered this. But the other thing about grabbing that smoke or not grabbing that smoke, if you don't grab it, you're not as tempted to go into really have difficult ganking situations, and your Chen does actually tend to get levels a little bit faster because you're not moving around quite as much.
Now this mid lane, I am mega confused. I feel like...
Please.
Oh, we have weird business going on. Either way, this ends up in the mid. I think that this is potentially because you can throw a Stormhammer into an arrow. What is going on with this other lane?
Lanham's going to go into the jungle ice and start stacking and farming out, and right now he's just trying to get some levels and sap a bit of experience. Seems to be what's going on.
You've seen the Kuroki Lifestealer, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've I think costed that game together.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, it's not the same hero, but do you think it can have some of the same utility? You know, being this greedy, having a jungler on your support?
Yeah, so being this greedy into a pushing lineup is very risky because obviously it weakens your early game lanes, it weakens your early game presence, but it makes your mid game presence very strong. Especially, again, if she can get out and get help getting some of these early game rules. I really like what she's doing here, leeching some of this experience in the mid lane as well, just to make sure that she's providing a presence to she is getting the levels and experience she needs in order to actually contribute starting earlier in the game.
So this changes everything, because I actually thought it was going to be a mid-legion commander or a mid-slog, but actually what's going on here, obviously, is they're just going to be using her duel for the lockdown. And we just have normal rune things, never mind, just people rolling about. Which is, I think even you can arguably use the duel to set up the arrow. You might not get the dual kill, but you'll get the kill because someone's stunned for or held in place for like 7 seconds or more.
Right, yeah. So that is Mirana, if she is on top of her ball, can be a relatively effective counter to Legion Commander, not just because of the arrow, also because she has that leap attack speed bonus, so she can leap in and really contribute.
Now, we haven't talked about top at all. It's looking like
we're gonna have a bit of a fight down bottom.
Oh yeah, as you say that. It's looking like Slog gets the leap onto Hanskin. That'll be our first blood. Kaka is taking a lot of damage from that Hellbear. The clap comes out. Can it get the auto attack? It does. Will they find anything in return on Swindles? There's a pounce coming up in 8 seconds, but with the ball slow, I don't think CTY can do anything.
Yeah, especially with this Hellbear Smasher still around.
Oh, yeah, as you say.
Of which.
Oh my goodness, and Lanham just using that press the attack to heal up, now be slowed. The Hellbass Basher does not have mana for another one, but there's the Sunstrike. Lanham gonna walk right into it, the axes come through, but not able to hit twice, and Hanskin maybe thinking about going deep, no, isn't able to.
It really shouldn't, but I can see the temptation to dive that tower with all your creeps pressed against it. You can get in out drawing the aggro, but they made the right call, not moving it. Bounce ready on the Slark, it could
Oh, okay, but as you say that, no, also Lanham on bottom, but yeah, Chessie on top.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah,
mining his way to victory.
They're playing hide and seek. Come on, you just gotta. They've played a lot of games already today. You just gotta have a little fun. No, this lane, Chessie looking to be in a pickle. He doesn't have the mana for Ghost Walk. He's trying to just wander away. There, he gets it, and he will be fine. Now the Anchor Smash does come out. Can old 11 hit another blind one? But no, he decides to get out from under the tower.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, finally that Satyr Tormentor itself in and does use the Shockwave to secure it.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, there's the Satyr Tormentor. Not only does it have the Hadoken, which is so powerful. Okay, just dog packs the third.
Fine. Oh, maybe. Oh, geez, old chicken is.
No, maybe he's in a different game. Come on.
Game.
Come on, Thundercow. We've got, yeah, Limp is actually doing ridiculously well in this lane. He is 19-3, while the Lena's 14-2. We've had action elsewhere, so I'm not sure whether this is just a case of Limp. He did get the block off, but Lena, she should have the way clear.
Down bottom, Swindles is going to be caught out.
Okay, Swindle's going to get caught out. The Sunstrike isn't enough on the bottom lane, and now Swindles does fall to CTY, getting another kill under his belt.
Boy, I don't envy you having to try to catch all of these kills. Oh, wow, Mirana's arrow just narrowly missed Tidehunter here in the top lane now, too. Being very close to the kill there. It is action all over the place.
I think obviously we're seeing some of the pressure of the fact that because of a Chen and a Legion Commander being in this game, the lanes are really not only strange, but you could argue that both sides have weak lanes, but then excellent roaming potential. So, old chicken, there is an entire army of creeps with your name on it. A Sunstrike as well. Stormhammer, is he going to be able to make it? The arrow doesn't latch. Limp used that Warcry to try and get into range, but no, the blocks from the creep, actually, their own creeps. That's a lot of stuff expended for old chicken.
Star Conqueror had the War Stomp available too, and I think they had communicated the arrow War Stomp slightly off.
Wait, okay.
Oh, wow.
There was a stun, and now they're going in on old 11. This one looking like maybe they can do it. He eats the Fairy Fire. He isn't taking a lot of damage. The Sunstrike gonna get that kill.
This is just blood everywhere. This is like an episode of Game of Thrones. Down bottom, we're gonna have a fight as well as Kaka rolls in.
Okay, he's got again with the pounce. This is so hard for Sundelmelon, and getting off a Primal Roar against a Slog, it doesn't necessarily matter. Not auto attack will do it. He eats his salve. He's gonna deny to the creeps. No, he does. No, he does get it.
Oh, well played by Swindles. Ooh. That's not an easy camp to deny yourself to either. That's like the lowest damage camp available in the game, and he still manages to get it. That's how close they were.
And again, both sides now having expended 4-man, 3-man rotations not to get a kill.
Well, at least it evens out, right? Both sides can kind of take solace in that. Legion Commander picking up the wards and...
old chicken getting very much into the dangers, and the net comes out. They've already used the purge. And the arrow actually ends up hitting on Lan M on the back line. They're going in. They have that God Strength. Lan M surrounded by units. unable to do anything there.
They could not have gotten luckier on that trajectory for that arrow. Happened to go, it was perfectly placed for the Lena, but the fact that the Legion Commander happened to be standing on that other side of the trees, they could not have asked for more.
It was a really good play by Complexity in general. One, the arrow flew through the creeps, and two, they made sure to not use all of the Chen stuff before the purge came out from the Legion Commander. So Z-Freak doesn't have enough mana for an arrow. Limp coming through does dodge the rock, but he shouldn't be able to make it up. And I think that's that.
You know that the game is super active when Sven is by default running around with int treads. He has to cast so much that he needs the intelligence. He swapped back to strength for a good while there. He's just running around in it.
Yeah, nobody's really staying in their lanes except I think for the Slog, and the Slog, the Tidehunter, and the Invoker and the Beastmaster are kind of actually staying where they belong. Oh, another bot's coming out on the bottom lane. They get the kill. This Chen had been doing so well, loses a dominating streak to CTY of all people, and suddenly it's Midas territory.
He's also on top for the last hits. You really don't want to be giving dominating streaks in as well. I don't think Lanham was within the AoE goal.
Also up top, one more auto attack onto Z-Freak. There is a Sunstrike, but it misses on Old Chicken, and now has a Laguna Blade. Light Strike Array is going to hit Chessie, falling down now.
They can't afford this level of distraction from the strategy. They have a very push-oriented strategy. They need to keep the mid-game really strong, and this is exactly the stepping stone into that mid-game they need to. Now they give a dominating streak up to the Slark, they give up a kills top. They're actually going to lose the first tower of the game. Despite their very push-heavy lineup, they need to coalesce around a common strategy and really communicate what their goals are for the next minute or two, because it will be very important for the outcome of the game.
Yeah, we'll see it reflected a little bit now with the Tower Gold, but also, more importantly, this has freed up a lot of EHOME's ganking this jungle of Complexity potential. I think, to me, another worry, I'm not as worried for Complexity's lineup, even though they definitely drafted a group up and push. I think you can transition this type of thing with a Sven who does so much damage, with an Invoker to buff him up. You can say, hey, no, maybe we didn't hit our early game, we'll try to go a bit later.
Yeah.
The Chen does, with the changes, fall off a lot earlier than he used to. Okay, Primal Roar on bottom, and Lanham, no time.
Beautiful.
Of that purge, but Old 11 comes in. Does he have any sort of backup? He does have the Ravage in 1 second. He may be trying to draw them in deeper and deeper. If he can come under his tower and maybe get someone to follow him, CTY is, but there are so many heroes here, and Limp is at the ready. He just wants to throw out that Stormhammer. We have TPs coming in, and Limp, I think, oh no, Limp's going for it. He's already thrown out the Warcry. There goes the Stormhammer onto Old Chicken. Handskin, oh, the arrow just off the mark.
Wow.
And Old Chicken also has a haste rune. Boulder comes out. It's gonna be Handskin, who's in a little bit of trouble. They drop a sentry right on top of him. They have the mana for the Ravage, but he might go down before he can use its Sunstrike. And Starstorm finishing him off. CTY pops that ult, poking away at people. The Magnetize doing a lot of damage to all of them. Limp is in God's Strength. The arrow, he jumps through it with the Dog Pact as well. Stuck in the trees though, and now the dodge out there, not gonna get hit by the rock. And that'll be that.
I like they extradited most of their heroes from that. Got the Tide. That was really good coordination to take the Tide out before he could Ravage off that Stormhammer. That was perfectly executed. But then, after that moment, the next target didn't seem to be apparent for them. They kind of split their attention, and it turned for the worse at that point.
Well, there are a couple of really difficult things, I think, for Complexity to play around here. Obviously, you can proc Kraken Shell, and then having to be very aware of whether the Dot Pact is being used. You have two heroes who can get out of a lot of your lockdown, so
yeah.
I think...
And it's not like Complexity have a lot of lockdown to spare, either. You know, they have an arrow, but that's unreliable. They could have Chen creeps, but they won't always have Chen creeps. So really, they have Stormhammer and then Beastmaster's Primal Roar. Basically all they've got in terms of reliable.
But as we talked about already, the Slog doing very well on top of the net worth. I think this is an excellent game for something like a Shadowblade, because it will either force Complexity to group up to not get picked off, which of course hurts their farm, or you let Slog pick you off and that delays the push.
Yeah, and also if he does manage to pick himself up a Shadowblade or something, it would encourage Complexity at some point in time game to grab a gem, which they probably really don't want to risk losing because the Mirana ult is so important, their overall survivability. So if you have opponents that are very reliant on visibility, it's always nice to force them to buy a gem and take it from them if you can.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
So
attack.
we're gonna see a rotation. I think Complexity have some idea that this is going on, you know, based on— oh no. Are they thinking about smoking themselves? They did. I don't know if that was in vision. No, it was just outside of vision because it's nighttime. So both teams smoked up. This usually does mean that nothing ends up happening. As I say that though, Old Chicken thinking about being the one man to break the opponent's smoke. Old Chicken gonna be spotted behind them.
He's got an invis rune though, so their smoke is going to be lifted, but they won't be able to see him.
Yeah, but instead they're gonna try to give it a go onto the slog, pounces away. Thumbstrike has been used. They immediately pop the Moonlit Shadows, and they've dropped a sentry, but unable to catch anyone. The Rabbit is active since it wasn't used last fight. Mirana nearby. Oh goodness. So I think both teams try to disengage here.
Yeah, I think EHOME are just the Moonlight Shadow, and then they're gonna engage.
Yeah, without jump and catch, I think all they have here is the Earth Spirit.
Go.
Okay, there's gonna be the roll, and they've already thrown out the Magnetize and a big silence onto everyone. Chessie, although, not taking as much damage as Kaka, and they are holding him in place. Ravage as well. Do they even have the damage to get this duel win? Does it matter? Sunstrike comes out, but on the other side of the fight, the Hand of God is too late. CTY, though, taking a lot of damage here, and the Primal Roll comes out before he can get off his ult, and now he's going to fall. Oh, he actually already used it to fight the Dog Pact. Not used. Hadoken coming through. Lan M, no dual damage, trying to have to just book it off. Chen blown up by the Dragon Slave, and now dodges the arrow. He's thinking about turning around. He just wants to make sure Old Chicken gets some kills here. Lan M getting dangerously low to the Forged Spirits, but one is down. Lan M still continuing to chase. They don't have enough mana, and she blows the Necro Creep and dies, and now Lan M isolated, slowed up. That's a full team wipe in favor of Complexity. Swindlemelon, the only survivor.
That was Shakespearean. Everybody died at the end. Swindles is the lone survivor of that engagement. That was really crazy. Now, I'm entirely unsure why Legion Commander felt so confident going in with 10 wand charges and 40 health.
Support hero, right?
Exactly. It's a semi-support in this case, which is weird to say in and of itself. But you really saw the downside of having that Legion Commander not getting farm in that fight, because she came very close to grabbing a dual kill, but they didn't get it. Had they grabbed the dual kill, then it would be worth a 5 for 4 trade. They'd have damage for the rest of it.
Oh, we have a roll in onto Limp. There's going to be a Magnetize as well. They kick a rock on through him. CTY doing a good amount of damage. Arrow entirely off the mark, and there's the Silent Handskin. Now having that thrown out on him. CTY just going to wander back through, and he'll be fine. Oh, another rock. Okay, Light Striker Ray gonna hit off of that Laguna Blade. Can't she? No, leap away again with the silence, and now finally some dual damage for Lan M.
Just wonderfully coordinated by these three. Kaka, Old Chicken, and Lanham could not have communicated that to each other. The duel came out at exactly the right time to actually get damage to stun.
Okay, and now Hanskin being caught out with all of his babies, just using that ult CTY. There isn't a great way to stop him, but there's a lot of backup. He's overextended Primal Roar, he dog packs it off, and the net interaction, but he is still caught out in no man's land with no mana. Oh, the mech comes out, the died under it now. There's a little bit of backup. The body block's not enough though, and Old 11, now he's the one getting body blocked up. Probably just has to let himself fall here. And it's looking like he is going to be, yeah, there's an arrow as well. So?
Well, that was an unfortunate turn for EHOME. Right as I was singing the praises, they swing in the wrong way. Limp going to try to use the remainder of this God Strength to knock down Roshan. He should be able to with the Alacrity.
Yeah, I mean, Roshan easy pickup here for either team. I'm not sure they can do too much other than Lan M trying to be pesky. I really think he's trying to just play it as if he's got a hold and an easy way to farm. They are rotating in. They do... Okay, Lan M may have just sacrificed his life. The body blocks are real. Gets hit by the double stop. They pop the Mirana ult as he does drop a ward, but they've already got Roshan. And welcome to Dire. Rosh control, easy.
That is the swing that we were talking about. It needed great.
Slog has gone in again. CTY so ham. I don't think he realized they were all around. Now he has to be very careful. He does pop that ult. He was stunned for a short amount of time there. Light Strike hits on one. They're not getting this dual damage, but Land and already very low. They're killing off Chessie. Ravage finally comes out. Chessie explodes to the Magnetize. Now Limp very low and surrounded. Hand coming back in to do something. He realizes that they have the Aegis there, but he might just go down instead. Limp full health. This is a great place for a Stormhammer. Only getting it on CTY. He jumps out of the Sunstrike, and now Limp standing there taking a beating. Has that God Strength. Can they turn around onto old 11? CTY cannot come back in. He isn't regenning fast enough. Chen has gone down on the other side. Spirit limping away. Old 11 most likely gonna fall. I have no idea who came out on top there.
Boy, this is playing a lot like a game of Coliseum, and not a ton like a traditional game of Dota 2. The last hits are all three from teams. Luck has 83. Minutes, that's really not that much.
Oh, okay, we also have a kill on Marana, which brings, he was sub 100 health there.
Yeah, he was sub 50 health there. He got very low playing an extremely dangerous game. He opted, by the way, to go for the Blink Dagger instead of the Shadow Blade, and that seems to have been working out for him so far.
I feel like all of the things we discussed in the draft about the timing windows for these teams, how they're going to group up and push, it's out the window now.
Oh, yeah, there is no longer any chance of falling back on that safety plan. At this point in time, for complexity, it is get kills first and ask questions later, and for EHOME, it's don't let complexity do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, but both teams actually, as we've seen, have good team fight engagements. There's good sustain from both sides. Yeah. Oh, but there's going to be a boulder not quite far enough. Very ambitious.
You can't get 2 sentences in without these guys trying to kill each other. They need to go to couples therapy or something. This is crazy.
I mean, especially given that this game, it did start still quite aggressive. There was a kill a minute, but okay, Hanskin, that is not where you want to be. I think they're going to let us relax for a little bit, but I think both teams have good team fight.
Shadow. I don't think we're that relaxed right yet.
They have some good diff engage here. I'm not sure. I don't think they have the gap closing item up. Swindlemelons is close to getting a blink. No, not there yet.
Okay, he's gonna try to land a blind Sacred Arrow, but there's nothing. Okay, they wanted to give us trouble, but they just couldn't.
They still might. Swindlemelons can see them. He can throw out the Primal Roar. Here he goes onto Kaka, and now it's Chicken blown up before even the Sunstrike hits. Kaka goes for the roll away. Sven still coming up to him. Actually throws out the dust in a desperate attempt to slow them. Easy T1.
And also sitting on a Blink Dagger in case anybody missed it. And it does look like the Earth Bear is getting very, very close to his item as well. There really aren't that many items out on the board for 20 minutes. There's a Mechanism and a handful of Blink Daggers. Necro 3 on
Swindles. I mean, Swindle's actually filthy rich. The team fight
is under attack.
Especially considering he only has 80 last hits.
The team fight he survived in this area as the sole survivor. The wealthy man. Arrow gonna be off the mark. They should get this tonight. I think this is actually pretty huge. We've already seen someone kill themselves on the Necronomicon creeps, and also having the blink that he actually goes bots.
Okay, well with the Chen that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
not only the Chen but also the Hawk.
There's some synergy. I'm just a little surprised they didn't want extra initiation. We've been talking about how the gap closing here. I mean, I guess he decides he can follow up since Sven already has one.
Yeah, Sven has one. You've got the Marana Leap. I think the problem with that gap closing, specifically up in this dire jungle fight, was the gap was so wide that they were really looking for a Sacred Arrow to start the engagement, and they couldn't quite get right on it because they didn't have vision. They do have a couple of gap closers, right? They've got the Blink. They can have the Chen creeps kind of sneak around the outside. They have Moonlight Shadow to engage the right next to their opponents. And of course, as already stated, they have the lead.
Fun things that we don't see every day. Legion Commander has an Aether Lens. There's going to be an arrow going through the line. It's going to hit. Oh, it's just too short. And Old 11 sitting around. He does have the Ravage back up. Okay, there's going to be an engagement by the Slog over here onto Askin. A double rock through. Silenced up again. Limp can't turn around and throw the ult. Now magnetized. He just wants to get on out. They might just Ravage this kill here. The Slog actually jumps forward. They managed to get it with the Dark Pack damage and the magnetize. So now it's EHOME's turn to take a team fight. You know, they're just exchanging it.
You know, they're showing a deal of teamwork between themselves. A little bit given.
Oh, okay, CTY going ham again. Gonna get caught out, does get out of the Sunstrike, has a pounce in 1 second. He's got his blink up as well, working in on that Scotty. He might just go dump them. Swindlemelons caught out by the pounce. CTY doesn't have his ult, but it doesn't have Swindle silenced up by the Rents. And suddenly, big pickoff for EHOME.
Boy, that ether lens is an interesting pickup, though. That, as you had mentioned, I think that increases the range of Jewel to 3.
Yeah. You can mouse over it. It's ridiculous.
And of course, you get the 8% increase on overwhelming odds, which can
Also
actually be quite a bit with all of these creeps floating around.
You can also cast it from further away. So I mean, when we discuss Aether Lens, the reason we see it so, or we used to see it so often for a variety of reasons. Even with the recipe, I think we'll still see it quite a bit because it helps supports position themselves. Yeah. It depends on the players. There are some supports who do prefer to play more team-oriented. They'll only pick up utility items. You'll never, Fly from OD is a good example. He often won't pick up an item which would maybe just help his hero. He'll instead go for utility like a Force Staff or a mech. Arcanes. But in this case with the Legion Commander, because she gives so much utility, the press the attack, purging off stuns here, overwhelming odds, doing so much AoE damage, or of course the duel, because they're using the duel as a almost 5-second stun, right?
They're using it as a mechanism for controlling the pace of the fight. Throw in the fight, and everybody from Complexity is forced to stay in that engagement. They can't really disengage where they're forfeiting the duel damage, which they can't afford to do, because if they do that, then they lose the game. And right now, they're really counting on being able to use that Sven and Invoker in late game in order to roll through this.
Now this smoke up from EHOME is it's going to be completely scouted out. The Moonlit Shadows is on cooldown for only 9 more seconds, so they have to find someone here. Handskin looking like he will be the sacrifice. Could have got and Mech expended, but he finally goes down. A nice arrow and the meteor falling. CDY has to pop his ult. Ravage though onto 3. Swindlemelons does get out. Chessie has been stunned for a little bit. Can they finish him off? It's going to be Limp that tanks that game. Now Chessie able to walk out in the Moonlit Shadows, or is he? Up in the airs from the Yules. There's an anchor smash with his name on it, and the overwhelming odds going to finish the job. Swindlemelons doesn't have the primal roar. He actually summons something now. The dust revealing him as well. Aggro onto all 11, but remember, if you hit him some, the Kraken Shell will proc. Looking like the members of EHOME low. Can they escape? Old 11 might just be the sacrifice, but an overwhelming odds saving the day, and they get out.
Another very close call for EHOME. Barely making it out of that as a favorable engage. Of course, they did get dual damage, and now up to 24 for the Legion Commander. Now she's got Blink Dagger in addition to Aether Lens, and because she did go for that Aether Lens early, and she is playing as semi-support, this damage she can get from duels is even more important because she's building completely reliant on her ability to actually do right-click.
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of quantify the dual damage. Some people like to discuss it like an item that gives you equivalent damage, but as you said, it's more, there's some freedom here. There's the fact that there aren't a huge amount of supports that can easily transition into a semi-carry role. Yeah. This Legion Commander, similar to when we see Alina support, now can, especially since she hasn't been giving up the dual damage.
And she's thinking about engaging up here. She does have help from Y. They know C2Y's there, they're going to throw the arrow, and that should be a disengage.
So, with that, I think we will have a second. This Slock is way up on the levels, but so are the Sven and the Beastmaster. Things going well there. Beastmaster again saved up a lot of gold. I really still would like to see the blink.
Yeah, it would be helpful. A lot of these fights we've seen, they have the ability to initiate, but they haven't really demonstrated the ability to position within a fight. And having the primal roar wherever you want it, whenever you want it, could be a big step in the right direction for that. And he will pick up the blink now.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. Sometimes I've actually had this discussion with Swindlemelons before we've cast a game. Oh, perfect world lag, not now. Don't do it. Oh, okay, we'll give it through. Oh, no, they're pausing. Yeah, it's just... we see Chassis, we know. I was going to say... We've spoken to Swindlemelons before. I've spoken to him when casting, and I was worried, maybe not worried, thinking he could have been saving up for something where they obviously it's nice to build an AC on the Sven sometimes. It can buff up your attack speed. It's good with the armor. It synergizes nicely as well with things like Alacrity, and then Beastmaster could potentially go for a Shiva's, and I've seen them sometimes pick those up early, but I really did think the Blink was...
I think Blink is the right call. And it is a difficult decision to make, but these fights are an existential threat for this game. The fact that they're fighting so often.
Okay, CDY jumps into a bunch of them. Again, this man has no fear, Sloth. He has a Lincoln's. He's going to be taking a Sunstrike on Lincoln's, or no, you are dead. The rest of his team nowhere close enough to follow up. Oh, but the smoke has been broken. Tidehunter Guardian Greaves. Limp blown up. Ravage does hit again onto 3. And now the Magnetize flying around the Invoker, trying to come around onto the back. Handskin, they've seen it all. Sundermans goes for the Primal Roar onto Old Chicken and the arrow hits. Lena immediately dead in this engagement. Kaka just looking for the roll away. And Old 11, he's not in the best of spots. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, this is an inopportune time to have to... Right. He might get denied by Ancients, but I don't see him getting away. If he comes out of that, he won't be able to blink. He is up and in his business with a rock golem, it looks like. Well. So.
Yeah, this engagement, obviously a lot of it comes down to Slug jumped in before the rest of his team could follow, and you can argue that's on Old 11. He went to finish up the Greaves before picking up the blink. He may actually try to buy that out before he dies. I'm not seeing something. I'm not seeing a reason for needing the blink. Oh, the Guardian Greaves finished. I don't see a silence on complexity.
No, well, let's do this fight first.
I mean, I think Old 11... Oh, okay, they're actually letting Old 11 get out. Legion Commander goes for the jewels. What? Creeps will help her kill him! Okay, let him. What a player. And now Kaka's gonna roll away. That was beautiful and amazing. And now...
That was extraordinary.
Kaka will sacrifice his life, it's looking like here. He throws out another remnant. Can he just get the roll away? There's a lot of things on the Forged Spirits and the Lost Snack. We'll get him.
What I was going to say with the Guardian Greaves is that if he has the money for it, the armor that it provides in that aura can be really good against all this right-click, especially the Chen creeps. Don't do quite as much damage as a hero, so with the armor, especially with his own rack shell, he can kind of stand and fight a lot longer, have much more system. But for the same reason that we were saying the Beastmaster might want a Blink Dagger in some of these fights instead of armor, could maybe make the argument that the Tidehunter may want that. Presumably he will pick one up, or the Force. It looks like he might be either Casual Cloak or he's going into Glimmer Cape or a Pipe Max.
Casual Cloak has been somewhat popular. Also, of course, the Hood now gives you almost the value of the pipe, right? It has an active now, so some people are prioritizing that. With Slog having a blink and Legion Commander also having one, it could be the case that EHOME decide, hey, we have enough initiation here that Tide can walk up and ravage them, bait them in a little bit onto the Slog and the Legion so that we get off a nice 5-man ravage.
What I was going to say about that fight also is that engagement really went sour, mostly because they were on their opponent's side of the map. EHOME was on Complexity side of the map, and Limp had a buyback, whereas CTY did not have a... And that completely turned the tables. If that buyback status were different, or if Limp was not able to get into that fight as quickly after his buyback because of this available tier 2 power to 4-2, the fight goes completely EHOME's way. So even though it was a very aggressive fight to take, they didn't necessarily have 100% of the information to be aware that it could go that.
And CTY is playing kind of cutesy here. He has got the Lincolns, he's got the Blink Dagger. He doesn't actually have a lot of damage when you take a look at it. He's really just relying on getting those Essence Shift stacks up.
Yeah. He's relying on the bedlam of these constant fights and what his team can provide. The Legion Commander is a great distractor. Throwing that duel down, the entire team turns on her almost unilaterally. Gives Slark free reign to just pop on whoever he wants to.
Yep, he tries to give it a go onto Swindlemelon's, not gonna latch, and they even Moonlight Shadows. I don't know if EHOME saw that the Moonlight Shadows was expended though, so they might not be able to take advantage of this cooldown.
This is the longest farming period we've had this game, though.
Yeah.
That last fight, we've seen about 3 minutes of relative inactivity. Slark is saving up. Does have a Hyperstone now, so he's ready to move in with quite a few Essence stacks on that next fight. He didn't have that for that. Just bought it and then he died before he actually used it.
He actually went to the Dire secret shop to pick it up, and I believe that if they looked at their wards, they saw it all. I think this is, as you said, there's been a lot of engagements. It's an odd game.
Top tower is under attack.
It's not going to... they could potentially try to change it up now, both teams, how they want to play it, but it's feeling like they just both really want to take team fights, which That's fine. Okay, we're going to be seeing Kaka. He'll get a D ward out.
Be an engagement. They are smoked up here, and Limp does have a fresh 10-second BKB ready and burning a hole in his pocket.
Rana also has a gem, so they very quickly, as you talked about, ended up getting a gem on the lineup of Complexity. And this map vision, we can see right now, Complexity doesn't have too much. Neither does EHOME, and obviously, map vision wins you the game. So always good to have a gem.
If you can afford it and you can protect it, you should always have one, right? The issue is, with this many team fights and this many deaths, can you really protect a gem? And if you can't, worth having it, even though Moonlight Shadow hasn't a big part of your strategy overall. I suspect they're going to do a round with the gem, try to knock down some wards around the general Roche Pit and jungle area, and then probably drop it in their fountain for a little while, just so they don't have to...
Yeah, the old take out the gem, give it a walk, put it back isn't terribly uncommon. The only reason it's been taking them so long, as you said, was because they were forced to posture around the Roshan pit knowing that EHOME is nearby. Z-Freak actually quite far out of position. We'll see the rock come through and now realizes she doesn't want to be here. She's constantly trying to turn and make sure she has a good way to jump using that leap, and actually needs one more hit. There we go. Gets the ward. And EHOME, I think, are flying blind now.
They are aware that something's going on, though. They've seen their vision drop down steadily, and they should have an idea that Roche is up now. GTY thought there was going to be an arrow coming for him. He dark packed just in case, so he definitely knows that there's an engagement.
Now this is pretty okay. As we say, there's an engagement brewing. CTY decides to go in onto Z-Freak. Silenced off again. The media is dropped, but they've already blown up the Chen. This is a lot of the sustain for Complexity. Limp, he pops that BKB. This means that folks can't kite him. And old chicken, the Guardian Greaves, saving her life. It's exactly what you talked about. She's able to get up the Laguna Blade, and the Lina, if she goes down now, she's done her part of this team fight. Old 11 standing there. Will he be able to find anything else? Handskin being brought down by the Sloth, and this team fight for Complexity. Will they find more? Kaka throws out the rock, unable to hit Jessie.
EHOME baited that just perfectly. You see them falling back toward their base, giving the feigning retreat, knowing that they're going to drag Complexity onto their own territory, be able to grab them at a point where they don't have a vision advantage, because they knew that Complexity would bring around de-warding around that other side of the map. The jungle in this general area knew that they didn't have a huge advantage, so if they could draw Complexity a bit closer than smoke up, they could engage on more neutral playing ground, and it worked absolutely stellar.
Oh, we'll have a deafening blast coming out. Chessie is up on the high ground. There's going to be a roll in onto him, and Sloth blinks. They get the dual win, and that's the gem. I think they see it. Of course they see it. Lanham now is the gem carrier for their team, and that kill, not only big because it was Chessie, but a gem? I believe it's a new gem too? No, they actually have it back on cooldown for Complexity.
Yeah, she picked it up a little, but they didn't actually walk it around for a while because they had that big fight.
Yeah.
Able to. I'm not sure what he was doing. Was he going for the Aegis steal?
No, I think it was actually just if you can get the Roche kill, right? Because of course then they don't get the bounty or the experience. So sometimes you can snipe it.
If he goes in there, he's got to know there's a pretty good chance that he dies. Did he have Ghost Walk? He didn't have Ghost Walk.
Dyer's middle tower is under attack.
He probably could have invoked it. Chessie is a very skilled invoker player, so I imagine he, as you're saying, like, he probably was like, I'll be ready if this happens. He also, maybe just thinks that they had to go for it. We're gonna see old 11 get deafening blasted backwards. Oh, there's a primal roar on the other side of the fight. Now the dual damage comes out from Lanham holding Swindle Melons in place. Will they be able to get this kill after the duel? For sure. Swindle Melons magnetized, gonna fall, and now Hands get stuck in the middle of them. This Chen, it's feeling like often picked up before he has any sort of impact. Chessie throwing up the ice wall so they can't push any further. But a tier 2, I think they'll happily take that, and look, with all their blinks, they're just fine to keep going.
Oh, CTY is taking a casual arrow. Spiteful more than anything. They can't really move on that, but Ion Defense seems to be the name of the game for Complexity. They've lost enough ground that at this stage in the game, they don't have a lot of other options. They've got to stop going out and taking these fights for a little while, though.
Yeah. It's looking like they are all Z-Freak taking quite a bit of damage from CTY here. Obviously, he is feeling completely empowered. Z-Freak goes down. When you've got a Moonshot and an Aegis on the slot, it might just be GG. And that's, I think, why Chessie felt he had to go for the Roche snipe.
Yeah, that might be it. He may have been aware that there's nothing we can do. At least if we can't wait out the Aegis, there's nothing that we're going to be able to do. They faked the retreat again, and now they're going to move back into the tier 4s. Into the fountain even.
Old 11 is trying to force out this BKB from Limp, but not getting what he wants. He's going to be forced off backwards, but they're getting the full set of racks. Yeah. Oh, that's cute. That's cute, Limp.
You know, sometimes you just got to deny your ranged barracks.
Yeah.
You know you're not in a great position in the game when you're officially denying barracks. They're going to move back
they're
in.
going back
paint.
in. Yeah. I don't disagree with this for EHOME. It's when you have a big ult, like the Ravage, you kind of can do whatever you want.
If they can take off kills here, even if they take it in their opponent's base, then are guaranteed to win. Otherwise, they've got to kind of chip and hem and ha. They've got to fight high ground into a tower. Even with the Aegis, it's still... Ideally, they could take some kills first. So it's certainly not harmful for them to try to fade back into that base and see if they can catch Complexity off guard.
Yeah. So now we're going to be...
Moonshard on the Slark, by the way.
Okay, I haven't... I mean, obviously you can consume one. I haven't seen that before. The double Moonshard in a professional match. I'm sure it's happened because life... Actually, maybe not because the Moonshard's a newer item.
I've also not seen it before. And I can't recall having... That seems like the sort of thing that I would have had brought up in a stats conversation. I have a lot of those, right?
EHOME, oh, the arrow does hit on Old Chicken, but it doesn't matter. There's the Purge coming out from land, and playing with the threat of the Ravage, they manage to lock down Swindlemelon. It doesn't matter if they get the dual damage. All they want is him out of fight. He's forced to use that buyback. He'd been saving up a lot of gold, but now the only one with a buyback on their lineup. Limp's BKB is down as well. Old 11 has the Ravage, they see Limp, they've seen it all, he's gonna burn down, Ravage manages to hit on 3, and I think this is all but the end. They might have killed off the Slog's Aegis, but it's not enough. Swindlemelons does get off a nice ult, the gem lying on the ground, but the X is not enough, and he is diebacked. There's no buyback on the Sven.
Yeah, that's probably the game. I mean, Invoker's a pretty good hero in general, but this Slurk is just...
Okay, just gonna... Yeah, and Invoker is a good hero when he's alive, but unfortunately he's not, and that's the end of a tiebreaker. Now, this doesn't mean Complexity are out by any means. This is a seeding tiebreaker. They will now play up against the loser of the other match in this group, which was Secret versus LGD. And sorry, having trouble remembering the groups there for a second. Secret versus LGD are playing. I don't know the outcome of that one, but whoever lost will play up against Complexity to see who is that 4th seed. 3rd seed goes to the winner of that match, and now EHOME will play up against the other winner to see who gets the 1st versus 2nd slot in the groups.